And welcome back to Janky AF and Year of the Aerostar, episode number 74. Well, we have a great one for you here today. And I just want to say real quickly that this Ford hat that I've tried to wear in pretty much every episode is covered today in either dog urine, garbage juice, or perhaps both. So that is the dedication that we have here to Janky AF and Year of the Aerostar. I got to wear the Ford hat. We had a little mishap earlier, but it's on the head. So there you go. Dog urine and garbage juice is, somewhat of a janky combination. I think we have a really good Janky Aerostar for you all today. So we might as well get to it, shall we? Here we have a 1990 Ford Aerostar, listed for just 10,000 Mexican pesos, which is only $556.68 in Acapulco, Edomex, which is the state of Mexico within the country of Mexico. We are still in our Mexican residency here on Year of the Aerostar. Obviously a very stunning example, and we'll talk about the looks and get into the aesthetics of it shortly, but of course we have to learn about this vehicle. So about this vehicle: driven 55,000 kilometers, automatic transmission, exterior color gray, I'm going to call it black with my black shirt, interior color gray. Fuel type gasoline. The engine size, a very peculiar thing on the Mexican residency, has gone up from 0.1 liters to 0.3 liters, which maybe actually that if you switch those numbers, 3.0 kind of makes sense. And horsepower, 500 horsepower listed on this Ford Aerostar. The last one was 555 horsepower, so down to a measly 500 now, and so nothing to write home about. But the number 5 seems to be a very popular character on the keyboard for this listing. Okay, seller's description. So we have 100 bang fire, 100 bang fire. Sell a la venta Aerostar por partes, for parts. Máquina recién, which is probably why it's only $556. Máquina recién ajustada, la calle se descompuso. Fire, bang, 100. Fire, bang, 100. Te compro tu vehículo fuera de uso y descompuesto. I don't know what descompuesto is. Hopefully it's not decomposing or anything like that. So selling an Aerostar for parts. Máquina, I don't know what that is. That's again just all in caps and with lots of fire emojis and bang emojis and 100% emojis. So very fired up about this Aerostar, which is nice because I'm pretty fired up about it too. So let's read the translation here. See how poor my Spanish is. Aerostar for parts for sale. Machine just fitted. The box is broken. So obviously it's got some transmission issues. Just fitted. I don't know what that means. I will buy your out of use and breakdown vehicle. Okay, so sounds like this is some sort of dealer that buys broken vehicles, and maybe they want to trade, and you could buy this broken Aerostar and be that all the much richer for it. So first off, just quite the aesthetic masterpiece here, I have to say. I love this. It probably is a gray, but it was close enough to black, and I see so few black Aerostars that we're going to call it, a faded black here. Where do we begin? The thing that strikes my eye among the many elements of jank in this Aerostar is how did they do this? It looks like a clear coat failure here where it's much more dull, but how is this line, this perfect horizontal line? It's like they taped the vehicle at some point, waited about 10 to 15 years, and then took the tape off, and you have this patch left over. But these are all the same colors here, but the way the sun hits it with the clear coat and the not clear coat, it almost looks like the gray goes to white, the green goes to black, and the teal goes to green, which I gotta say looks really cool when you're like painting shadows in a painting, something like that behind me. To disrupt the light in such a way, you're painting, so you're creating a, an amalgam or a representation of light, and that would be kind of tricky to paint. If I were to paint this Aerostar, I'm switching my colors even though it's just the light hitting it differently. So just really curious to me how this line came to be, but in totality, it creates a really cool visual effect where your paint scheme doesn't change. It's just sort of somehow faded in a very specific and linear and tight, neat manner. So I just thought that was really, really cool. Taken as a whole, obviously, I love the treatment on this Aerostar. I love, you see pinstripes pretty often and you see two-tones pretty often, but this is very interesting the way they've broken up and highlighted the sort of horizontal creases on the Aerostar. You have, I mean, how many can we count? You have gray, then you have a white stripe, and then you have a teal stripe, but none of these are coming quite at the body creases. They're all within the body creases. And then, here in this big middle section where you usually have your secondary color, we have a body crease and then another teal panel and then body color and then white and then teal and then white and then back to body color. Really something. And I don't know, the way it just sort of breaks up the vehicle, I think it looks very, very nice. I'm guessing this was sort of like a factory livery because I don't know, it just seems, like it's painted, or it seems like it was done very well when it was new. And I have to say, quite a striking aesthetic scheme here, especially the dark, like metallic gray, gunmetal gray with the white and teal really just strikes my eye nice. It's a great looking Aerostar. Obviously it's a little long in the tooth, as they say, this time around, but I've never seen another sort of color scheme like this. And as I said in the last video, the amazing thing about the Aerostar is there's not a color or combination of colors you can put on the Ford Aerostar in which it will look bad. You see people do all sorts of crazy things to their vehicles. There's the whole worst spec, thing, and people have, somewhat questionable choices regarding the colors and the combination of colors. Now, me personally, I like it all. So maybe you're seeing my bias here. I think that the Wilder, the McDonald's Mondays, or, all these crazy clashing schemes that you see that are not, fitting in with our conventional aesthetics. I like all that stuff. So, perhaps I'm not the right person to make this assessment. However, that being said, I've never seen an Aerostar in a color I didn't like, whereas I can kind of see, okay, yeah, maybe I wouldn't paint my Ferrari 599 that color, but the Aerostar, it really does not have a color scheme that I've seen on it that looks even questionable to me, or even something that I don't think the Aerostar in its shape pulls off. So I'll just say that. Continuing on here, another thing we have to highlight is the two different wheels. I love the two different wheels. I love when the wheels don't match. Because you know what it is? It's like, I want to know the circumstances and the story that led to that happening. At what point did, okay, you get a flat tire, but I guess you have another tire lying around and the bolt pattern just so happens to fit. Because this aftermarket wheel here, it looks like even a smaller tire. The rubber looks smaller than on this nice steel wheel here. Of course, I'm a big fan of steel wheels. We are big fans of steel wheels here at Janky AF. So as we move around the other side, if we get a shot of the other side, which I don't think we will, it'd be nice to know what all four corners look like. And then, just in this one picture alone, which will probably be the thumbnail, there's so much good stuff to digest here. In the front section we have a nice dent here, and then the entire side sort of amber turn signal is just completely mangled. I can't tell if this looks like a gash. I couldn't tell if it was actually three-dimensional metal sticking out. It just looks like a nice gash there. So one wonders what sort of, incidents this thing has gotten into. Your front quarter panel is completely dinged up to the fact that it gives this really large sort of gaping gap here between the door and the quarter panel. And perhaps that's why the steel wheel is on. Maybe there was some sort of front incident here that led to the steel wheel being put on, because presumably the aftermarket wheels would have been put on first to sort of gussy up your Aerostar. And then, maybe this was the replacement. Again, a little bit of Aerostar sleuthing. Now, that's the front. Let's head over to the back of the vehicle now. And it just keeps getting better. First of all, it looks like your lift gate, and now maybe this is just sun damage, but it looks like your lift gate is a different color. It looks like it's been replaced. And I keep seeing, it's very rare that this would catch my eye. But with this wheel in particular and just this rear section, I'm like, it kind of looks like a Dodge Caravan, like a first-gen Dodge Caravan. And I'm wondering, because this bumper, which is just fantastic, really like a winner of like sort of the jankiness here. This bumper is not an Aerostar rear bumper. I mean, I can tell you that. It's the wrong shape. It doesn't fit right. It's rounded in the wrong places. It doesn't have the little dip down for the hatchback. And just my eye after seeing a million of them, it's just not the right one. It just has a single groove here as our light goes out here because we're janky. Round contours, it's just not the right bumper, clearly. And what's great, not only is that they've put on another bumper, and it kind of fits well enough that it's like being held on, but, speaking of that, it looks to be, I think this is some sort of rope or chain or bungee cord. Maybe it's just a shadow, but I don't know if it's a shadow of. And it looks like there's a little additional rope here. It looks like this is being held up by some sort of, cockamamie, rope or bungee cord scheme, which just makes me, it's through the roof. Like I'm so happy with the aesthetic of this Aerostar. It's just got all the jank in all the right places, and it just adds up to this perfect totality. Like this thing is such a survivor, like front end collision, hatchback falls off in the rear, bumper falls off in the rear, paint's peeling, the wheel's not right, but it's still going, and I guess they're selling it for parts in the transmission shop. You could put another transmission in this thing conceivably, and it just keep going down the road. It's amazing. I love it. People are always trying to make things so perfect, but you cross that threshold, as I've said many times on this program, and all of a sudden you kind of got to lean into it at some point. And I love when these vehicles have just, whatever's necessary to keep the vehicle going. There's just something, perhaps I'm like, I'm belaboring the point, but there's just something so refreshing and something so heroic about a vehicle that just keeps going down the road no matter what. And I think you see a lot of Aerostars in this condition. And, what greater tribute to a vehicle than, it just won't quit, and that people take the time and the energy to make it keep going because they have to, because that's their means of transportation. We focus so much on, what car you drive. Cars are like clothes now. They're fashion statements. They're statements on status. And in a lot of ways, I think we've totally missed the point of automobiles. An automobile is a means of transportation that came out of a horse, insofar as being something that could carry you and carry stuff faster and further than you could walk. That's what an automobile is. And I just think the Aerostar is such a perfect embodiment of what like sort of the quintessential automobile is. You can fit a lot of stuff in it. It's modest, and yet, despite its modesty, there's so many fun aesthetic things that you can do to it to make it your own, and to make it personal, and to make it stylish, to make it sophisticated. So it perfectly combines those sort of two worlds. And there's just something so humble and so modest, and yet so sort of like an element of being a champion in an Aerostar. It's humble and it's modest, but it's not something that's shying away from the spotlight. It's not something that's not ambitious. It's not something that's not aspirational. So, a little tangent there, but that's how I feel about the Aerostar, and this Aerostar perfectly embodies that. So, let's look at some more pictures. Okay, the back. Yeah. So gray, silver back here, and someone's put another tailgate on it for some, I don't know if this is purposeful, but the star has come off and now it's just left with the arrow. So, in this age, it's like, it may not be a star anymore, it's past its prime, but it's still aerodynamic. It still has that 0.37 drag coefficient. It's like, one of my favorite basketball players of all time was Antonio McDyess, and Antonio McDyess was a budding star. He was most improved player. He was averaging, I believe he was most improved player. I may be getting him confused with Purvis Ellison, another one of my favorite NBA players. But he was an all-star. He was averaging over 20 points a game, had an incredible vertical leap, and was a sensational dunker and blocker of shots. Really exciting player, and had a good jump shot to boot, really ahead of his time. And he became injured. Didn't have the same raw athleticism anymore, but then ended up being a really significant role player for the Detroit Pistons and the San Antonio Spurs later in his career, and really carved out a niche for himself. And that's like, maybe no longer a star, but still aerodynamic. So that's just like another little tangent for you. Feeling very fanciful on this episode of Year of the Aerostar. So obviously this bumper is not an Aerostar bumper, or maybe at some time it was, but I really don't think so. I really think it might be from a Caravan. I'd have to look at Caravan bumpers. A big scalloping scoop here, and we have these very interesting little bumperettes on the edge of the bumper, and it's just cracked nicely in half, which I'm guessing is why the bungee cord is on this end, holding it together. So just really, really beautiful. Really, really. Oh, so here we do have a shot of this side of the vehicle. I love the license plate, sort of looks like zip tied onto the grill. That's fantastic to me. It looks like we do have a steel wheel on the front, and on the back, oh, I really can't tell. I wonder if that is another alloy. That'd be funny if the back two were matching, but not the same as the front two, which were also matching. It's like, well, we got two of them. Looks like this side is fairly nice, but it looks like that clear coat issue is going on this side too. I see a pretty distinct line there. I really want to know what's happening. Your rubber for your window seals is falling down. Very, very common on these Aerostars. You have your sort of smaller non-towing style mirrors, which are very, very small. They're perfectly functional. But when you're used to seeing the big towing mirrors like on my 1986 Aerostar, they are, if you look at the size of this vehicle, which is not large, but it's a tall vehicle, these mirrors look so dainty and small, and I quite like that, probably contributing to the great aerodynamic performance of this vehicle. Again, 1990, so let's see. 86, 87, 88. Now this is interesting. If this is indeed a 1990, then this was a grill from an earlier body style that was, or an earlier grill style that was put in here, which I wouldn't put it past them at all. It seems like, this Aerostar has been sort of cobbled together. Maybe the front grill got smashed out during the accident. They got the rear tailgate from a different van, and while they had the tailgate, they popped a grill in there. That or it's not a 1990, but, just doing a little Aerostar sleuthing here on this episode. Okay, interior looks like we got, this is interesting. These almost look like a brown and tan combo, but I can't really tell by the light. Perhaps they are just a gray seat in there. Again, two-tone. It does have a little bit of piping, but not really a tertiary color piping. I kind of like that. We talked about that last episode. Your seats are, looks like they've been rode hard and put away wet. Very dusty, basically down to foam in some areas. But, if the interior was nice on this Aerostar, it'd almost be a shame. Like, you almost want the interior to be as janky as the exterior, because then it's perfect, You got your big, nice, heavy-duty, solid metal belt buckles. I like that. Perhaps, is that an iron for hanging, your brake caliper when you're changing your brakes? I'm not sure. Middle row here, we have some sort of business card. So we can see the seats. The seats are present in the vehicle. Again, what I am claiming to be is the world's longest floor-mounted automatic transmission lever. I'm not sure if that's correct, but certainly one of the longest ever mass-produced. Look at how long that thing is. It's so funny. It looks so great. And I've never actually driven a pre-facelift interior Aerostar with an automatic transmission. My 1986, obviously, first year, so it was while the interior was original, but that has a manual transmission. So I'm not sure actually, ergonomically, maybe this shift lever almost looks like it could be higher, but certainly, high enough for you to reach with your hand and then go about your day driving. Seems like a gray interior all the way around. I do quite like this gray steering column and steering wheel in the pre-facelift interior. Mine is tan, and I like the tan. It suits the brown very well, but there's something about the gray. I've always had a thing for gray interiors. My 1995 Buick LeSabre has a gray leather interior. One of my dream cars is a Porsche 996 911 with the egg yolk lights that nobody liked. And I believe it's Ocean Jade Metallic, that real nice like light teal color. with a gray leather interior. Just a fantastic combination. I've always liked a gray interior. I don't know what it is. It's not, it's and gray is not necessarily my favorite color, but on an interior, I don't know. It's sort of it's different. It's surprisingly rare. A lot of black interiors, a lot of tan interiors, and I love a black interior. I love a tan interior. I love a black and tan interior. But something about the gray, it's just very stately and regal, and has like its own sort of form of luxury to it that I appreciate. Okay, looks like we do indeed have the 3-liter engine block in there. Nice looking engine. Boy, it's a lot of dust driving on those Mexican highways. But everything looks like it's I don't know, I'm not a mechanic. It looks like it's there. It looks like it's complete. Seems like it needs some transmission work. And then back to the start here. So wow, something about this Aerostar just got me real excited. Maybe it's the fumes of the canine urine that are exaggerating my mood right now. But in any case, I'm happy about it because I really love this 1990 Ford Aerostar. And hopefully you do too. And it's listed, go down to Mexico, get it for $556 or whatever it was, bring it back, put a new transmission there. Maybe you want to manual swap it, and then you could turn it into a drift car. It's rear wheel drive, whatever you want. Or just drive it around and have fun. And, impress all your friends and family with its low drag coefficient and, impressive amount of cargo capacity. So there you have it. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Year of the Aerostar here on Janky AF. We're mighty happy that you came by, checked us out, and we'll have another one coming very soon, so don't worry. And that'll be big number 75, so maybe we'll try to find something interesting. Not that all Aerostars are not interesting. There you have it. Janky do thanky once again to everybody. Really appreciate it. Got to respond to some comments. I will do that probably now. So catch you soon for another episode. And until then, Janky do thanky.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.